After years comfortably perched atop the funny book fuck pile, much has been made of the slow, inexorable goddamn disintegration of Marvel Comics. Why, there's even a bona fide YouTube genre dedicated to itemizing the minutiae of its headlong plunge into self-imposed SJW sales exile. But as I've been saying for over a half-decade in virtually every comic-related video where my personal favorite character, Daredevil, is ever mentioned, the roots of this retardation can actually be found in one book and one writer. So how did the House of Ideas become the House of Ideologues? It all started with one man, Mark motherfucking Waid. Oh, Razor, we get it. You don't like Mark Waid. That doesn't mean every awful-ass SJW Marvel comic is the fruit of his feckless loins. I concur, Senor Strawman. I might not even mention it, in fact, except that the one leveling the praise cum backhanded insult in this instance is actually a motherfucking Marvel editor. It turns out it was the success of the 2011 Daredevil relaunch that emboldened Marvel into rolling out the pop culture reference-laden Wolverine in the X-Men comic, fuckwit Fraction's Hawkeye, and yes, was directly responsible for greenlighting everyone's favorite Kelly Ask Me About My Feminist Agenda Deconic's odious Miss Marvel extravaganza, and ultimately to an entire line with a singular purpose: replace seriousness, continuity, or darkness of any description with 15 fuckloads of Big Bang Theory bullshit. Its name? Marvel Now. As in, now I have no reason not to switch to DC. Mind you, when I say it was a success, bear well the fuck in mind here that where Waid Devil is concerned, success roughly translated to 3 issues actually sold, while the remainder of the run was subletting fucking shelf space. Do me a solid, folks. Just to obliterate this unctuous IGN narrative once and for all, head on over to your local comic shop and just count the unsold Mark Waid Daredevil graphic novels. I know at my shop we have multiples of each and every ass fucking volume. They sit there moldering on the motherfucking shelves much longer, they're gonna be eligible for squatters' rights. Go ahead and snap a photo of that fucking failure. I will shout it out from the mountaintops to put to bed once and for ass fucking always that Mark Waid Daredevil may have been beloved by every hairy ass hemp stinking hipster in the Pacific Northwest, but it's sold like liquid ball cancer. Waid's dog shit Daredevil run, which curiously even many who deride the SJW wankbait Marvel degenerated into, still for some baffling reason continue to praise and outright defend, in retrospect, created all of the above. In fact, at the time, pseudo-journalists like IGN and muckraking manatees like Rich Johnston penned puff pieces aplenty about how Waid's Daredevil had single-handedly reshaped the art form, the tone, the political content of all Marveldom. I'll link them all below. You should read them because, like, given the protractions of time, I find they're actually illuminating as fuck. For a fact, I could go into every aberrant spasm of bullshit that heralded Daredevil's demise over the agonizing 4-year span this simp spun his hacky yarns, but the cliff notes are as fucking follows. Continuity, believable character motivation, originality, and artwork you could decipher without a degree in goddamn cubism were exchanged for piss-poor pop culture snark, stories that reset to default after every arc like a grating as fuck Groundhog Day, and artwork with more unshaded pastels than a pint of goddamn Dippin' Dots. Yet if you dared suggest this celebrated sack of shit was anything but a brilliantly arranged bouquet of fucking chrysanthemums, you get roughly the same look Mark gets at a singles bar. The Waid Brigade so busily erected a monument to the Markmeister's mythic talents, they were apparently too busy to buy the goddamn book. Well, Waid Wanksters for once were in absolute agreement. Mark Waid's talent absolutely is a fucking myth. Waid Devil, the 4-year agonizing run. Rich Johnston took the top 3 layers of skin off his wank shaft, whacking it to, as of January 2018, remains the single lowest Daredevil comic run since the 1998 post-bankruptcy relaunch. Lower than Charles Soule, lower than David Mack, lower by a lot than Andy goddamn Diggle. Early proof that went largely ignored until the recent furor over SJW Marvel, that the social justice jagoffs seem much more interested in decreeing what entertainment should be than actually fucking purchasing it. After all, those college fund checks from mommy and mommy's domestic life partner have an infinitely more utilitarian application: the purchasing of medicinal pot and hair dye. That said, I do feel honor-bound to point out that while the pretense and preachifying ain't doing Marvel the faintest of fucking favors, it's not even most of the reason for their current commercial quagmire. As recently as 2 years ago, Marvel were not only on top, there were months DC was lucky to get a single book in the top 20. Now it's an even split, with DC even taking most slots on a particularly murderous month. The culprit, you ask? 2 words, precious: star Wars. In the build-up to the release of The New Hope Awakens, Marvel, as decreed by Disney, positively shit Star Wars product directly onto the shelves. Quality be fucking damned. They wanted cash, they wanted it now, and fuck the long-term implications. Consequently, of the dozens of slipshod Star Wars books adorning comic store shelves, maybe 2 or 3 were worth fucking reading, and even then, mostly for the art. Let's see, shitload of lackluster product, momentary evaporating market, high-end variant covers to spur non-existent demand. If that sounds familiar, it's because Marvel made themselves their very own self-contained 1993 style comic crash. Well, hi, motherfucker. Now, couple this self-imposed commissary cratering with an alarming tendency to antagonize what's left of their actively retroceding audience. That, my friends, is where creators like Dan Slott, Matt Problem Glasses, Von Fohawk Fraction, Gabby Rivera, Nick Spencer, and oh yes, Mark Waid come into play. You dig Captain America going from kick-ass Ed Brubaker political noir to pastel anti-PP propaganda courtesy of Nick Hail Hillary Spencer? You like Miss Marvel going from a bangin' blonde in a jet black onesie to a muff-mongin' mullet-bedecked WNBA season ticket holder? Well, you go right ahead pretending Wade Devils Eisner was in any way fucking earned then. You slurp down that tall glass of Axel Alonso's testicular tequila and you ask for seconds. Me? I'm gonna go right back to admiring the massive Mark Wade-shaped hole in my otherwise complete collection of Daredevil. It can keep the Carl Kessel-shaped chasm company. If you, like most rational human beings, can't read 3 pages of the average modern Marvel book before suffering the sequential storytelling equivalent to bitter beer face, understand this. Mark Waid shaped that shit NATO. Worse still for an avowed Daredevil fan like myself was a recent Newsarama revelation that Marvel had an entirely different plan before the salt and pepper socialists stepped into the fray and slathered that shit in 12 top coats of leering hipster tripe. The original idea was to make Daredevil an outright villain. Sounds gimmicky, sounds a bit batshit, but given the 4 fucking agonizing years that comprise the alternative, not to mention the caustic wasting effect it triggered on the industry at large, fuck it, make him Victor Von Goddamn Doom for all of me. Color me cagey, but I'd rather Daredevil be a douche than be written by one. I'm Razor Fist. God fucking speed.
You ain't gonna be no hero, 'cause you ain't got nothing to lose. So move it out and shut your mouth, or we're gonna teach you how to sing the blues.
Please ask him if he believes the customer is always right.
That's a good question. No.